So Damien, first of all, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate that. And this is true Muay Thai legend in the building. So very, very honored to be able to ask you a couple of questions. So thank you.
No, it's obviously I've been watching your stuff for quite a while as well, so it's been quite good to be invited on.
Lovely. Well, on your website, the first thing that you read is a quote that says, the few bumps and bruises you get during the fight, they're nothing to the beating you'll give yourself mentally for giving up. So I knew immediately that this was going to be a great podcast and incredibly insightful and helpful for fighters. So in your illustrious career, let's begin by exploring, what were some of the biggest challenges for you as a fighter? What parts of that journey did you struggle with?
Like, to be honest, I can't really say that I struggled with anything as such. Like, so I've always been like quite confident. Like before I even stepped into the gym, I kind of told myself I was gonna be good at this. And I come in, I wasn't too bad. I wasn't amazing, but I wasn't too bad. But obviously, I worked hard, and obviously because I had such a good foundation in the gym, obviously was always encouraged. Obviously, everything was about being positive, no negativity. Obviously, all not just myself, but obviously the other fighters in the gym as well. Obviously, like we kind of strive to be pushed forwards. So any kind of negativity we'll kind of like talk to almost try and push aside. I'm not saying I haven't had fights where I've had doubts in myself, but like for like the most part of it, I've been quite confident in my approach of the way I've done things.
Yeah. So what was that? Just you were lucky that you were surrounded in the gym that encouraged that positivity, or you sought that out? Where did that? How did you develop that
I think a
that
lot of it is like
confidence?
obviously from our own coach, like Steve Logan's. Obviously, a lot of the stuff like now, everyone's kind of like talking about obviously the strengthening the mind, NLP, and all this kind of stuff. But obviously, our coach Steve used to do this with us like, when we were like younger, like starting out.
Really?
So he'd kind of try and get us to focus on the positives rather than the negatives. Because sometimes like, when you go training, you might not have done that well in sparring, and you kind of focus on what you didn't do well on, where you probably should try and focus a little bit more on what you did do well on. Obviously, still address where things need work, but try to focus on the positive side of things. Because obviously, you could have an amazing day and then 2 minutes one really annoys you, and that's the thing that you kind of focus on. Everyone kind of does it. We need
Yeah.
to try and almost like learn how to kind of get past that and obviously look at obviously the brighter side of things.
If we have a little review of your earlier years, to get maybe some of the context to the fighter that you became, can you share a little bit about that? Maybe set the scene for us a little bit. Where you
Um,
come from, where that journey began.
just the gym was literally just down the road from my school. I had a couple of like schoolmates who started training. They asked everyone to come along. I tagged along. I was quite consistent in my training, to where obviously our coach Steve kind of approached myself and a few others on the class. Would we be interested in obviously like doing an interclub? Would we be interested in competing? And obviously we did quite well. And obviously then our coach kind of encouraged us into a sense where he kind of focused on the good things that we were doing, and obviously kind of teaching us how to kind of sway away from negativity, and obviously give us like a good example. And obviously then as I was competing, I was just kind of like getting better and better physically and mentally at the same time.
Looking back now, the remainder of the years of your fight career, what was your why? What was the driving force that allowed you to put in that hard work and to pursue it for so many years?
I think for myself, I'm very goal motivated, so I have to kind of like set myself a goal, and that's kind of like what I want to kind of strive for. And obviously, when I kind of first started competing, I thought, oh, I'd like to be Midland champion, because back then it's very rare you saw like a world title fight on an event. Like British titles were kind of like the big thing. And obviously at our club, we had a couple of like Midland area title holders. So I wanted to be like them. And as I was kind of fighting towards competing for one of those, I kind of started thinking, you know what, this is a bit small. I want to be British champion. And obviously my goals and obviously my dreams and just kind of like grew. And I thought, no, I want to be world champion. I want to be kind of like my heroes like Roman Decker, Rob Kamen, Danny Bill. I want to kind of like follow in their footsteps. And then I'd beaten so many world champions prior to myself becoming one, because I was quite late when I actually got to a chance to compete for a world title. Like I started in '94. My first attempt at a world title was in 2007, which I lost. And then I had a couple more fights to get back on track, and I had like another chance in 2008 where I won. And obviously I've won another one since then. But then same again, as I kind of become a world champion, I thought, no, I want to make my goals bigger. I want to be remembered now. I still want to be spoke about after I've retired fighting. So obviously then I've just kind of tried to go that way. And then like now, obviously because I don't compete anymore, I've kind of focusing more on obviously like coaching. So obviously I try to help people online. Obviously my gym's booming at the moment, and obviously I'm just trying to pass on the knowledge that was given to me onto others.
The transition from fighting to coaching. We mentioned in 2016 when you came to fight on the MTGP, was it Adrian Lopez, and that was after a 4-year hiatus. So in that time, you did have time to focus on your gym to get that started. What was the decision process like for that, and was it a challenge? Was it the transition from fighter to coach?
It was, to be honest, it was extremely hard because obviously I'd opened the gym. The gym had been open for 2 years. I recently had a son who was coming up to 18 months when that fight was on. So obviously my life had just completely changed. And obviously when you compete, you have to be extremely selfish. You've got obviously you're obviously the main focus. You've got to put everything into you. But obviously when you've got your own business that supports your family, and obviously you've got a family, they're the priority. So obviously my training kind of comes second to everything else. So obviously for that, it was just too hard to kind of get back into where I was like 4 or 5 years prior. So like I found a transition from going from fighter to coach a lot easier than going from coach to fighter.
How is life as a coach now? You mentioned business is booming, and I see that you put a lot of high quality video content out there where you're giving expert tips and advice. How is that path now? How is that journey?
It's, to be honest, I've worked in the gym since I was at school, so like it's just normal to me. And obviously, like the gym's doing really well. I don't have to stress about trying to get new members in because I've just got a constant flood coming through. I've got a real like happy environment. Everyone gets on with each other. Everyone kind of helps each other. So I'm just kind of like I'm in a good place myself, and obviously the gym's in a really good place at the same time. And obviously we've got people now that are wanting to compete and follow obviously their own kind of journey. And obviously I'm kind of happy to kind of help them on their way.
So yeah, I love that fighters are focusing a bit more on their minds now, and it's becoming less taboo to talk about mental issues and struggles. Granted, some fighters struggle with it more than others. Some are like actually enjoy this process, and that's actually not much of an issue. But for a lot of fighters, there are. But now with the science backing up, things like mindfulness, for example, it's becoming more popular, and it's a branch of mental training that I involve myself with. I'm actually working with like Liam Nolan and Felipe Lobo, who fought against Haggerty, a couple of weeks back. But if you could do it all again, how much more now would you focus your training on the mind, given that you did have a bit of that help from a young age? Um, you know, yeah, how would you reapproach that?
I probably excited because see, I've worked with a couple of mind coaches. Like I've got a really like good friend who's a former British champion himself, and he's from K-Star, and that's kind of like what he does now. He kind of like helps fighters on obviously
Hmm.
with mind with like hypnosis and stuff. A lot of the stuff
Who's
is
that?
kind of
Who is that?
his name's Richard Hart. It's called the English hypnotist,
Hmm. Okay.
and like he's got obviously quite a lot of obviously like well-known fighters from like Australia and America. And obviously they're doing really like well, and obviously their coaches kind of get back to him and say obviously how much more focused their fighters seem to be
Hmm.
after working with him. So a lot of the stuff that he's kind of done, we've done like a smaller part of it when we were going for our journey, but he goes more in depth. So I'd probably, if I was kind of to start it again, I'd look to go more in depth into it to kind of try and help push that a little bit more.
Yeah. And what advice do you have for our fighters and our listeners that maybe seeking some assistance, or wanting some help
I think
as far
with a
as
lot of
that
it,
mental?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
with a lot of it, like I try to talk to my fighters as well, because I've kind of been through most scenarios
Yes, yeah.
what happens. So I can kind of see when something's troubling them or they haven't done something because they're mentally not quite there. And I can see it. And I've kind of said to them, look, I've been there. Obviously, don't kind of like lie to me and say, oh, it's this and it's that, because I can tell it's not. So obviously can't
Mm,
speak to me. So I think what it is as well, I think especially in the UK, because obviously like the English hypnotist Richard Hart, most of his clientele tends to be Australia and America, not England. I think like being British, we don't like to open up to people. We don't like to kind of
interesting.
talk. And I kind of think that needs to be kind of addressed in themselves, where they should open up to their coach, or they should have a coach that they feel comfortable opening up to, or at least somebody. And obviously, then that way, then they can give them the right information and obviously
Mhm.
guided like the right way.
Yeah. Oh, which leads me on to the next area about dealing with defeat. You know, some people are graceful with it. You know, some people are not so
Yeah.
so good with that. How are you in defeat? Because from the videos that we see of you, you seem, you know, very composed, very professional in that. You know,
I think it
well,
depends
what's
on
yeah.
I think it depends on how or why I've lost. Like if I've lost because I fought someone who's just better than me on that day, then I can. But as long as I've fought properly,
Mm,
I've kind of given my all, then I'm all right. But then obviously, if I feel that I haven't done that well, I won't obviously kick up a fuss in the ring and show people. But obviously, behind closed doors, I'll be kind of kicking myself. Well, I should have done this. Why didn't I do that? And obviously, it's those kind of things. And I think people that kind of do bad when they lose, where they kind of like really start shouting their mouths off and that I don't think they've been guided properly, and they're just probably just quite emotional people, and they don't quite know how to channel it.
yeah. And so as a coach, you know, do you let your students know that, you know, win or lose, what you're looking for is, you know, for them to perform at their best, and
Yeah,
that the result is almost secondary to the, you know, making sure that they put on a show, making sure that they perform to their
yeah.
ability.
I am very straightforward. So if I feel that my fighter hasn't performed to
Yeah.
their best, I won't be rude about it, but I'll give it maybe a day or two. Then I'll kind of like say, oh, look, you didn't do this, and
Mm,
you need to, what was wrong there? How come, like I'll try, I won't obviously have a go at them, but I'm very straight, and I'll
mm-hmm.
be kind of like, you didn't do this. Why didn't you do this? What was your feeling here? How, like, and kind of to kind of
Yeah.
help them understand at the same time.
Are you still gaming?
I do little bits, not lots, just because
Yeah.
obviously with the two kids, it's hard, and
Yeah.
I'm I'm not really an online gamer. I
Mm-hmm.
prefer solo
Old school.
games.
Yeah.
I like story-driven games, so I need to be able to sit down. So I might just have a quick 10-15 minutes. I'll put it down for a bit. I've got
Mm-hmm.
a Steam Deck, so I'm playing that at the minute. It's quite quick just to pick up and put down, whereas having to
Yeah.
plug it like the
What's that? What's that?
PlayStations. It's like it's basically a portable gaming PC. So it's like a PlayStation 4, but it's portable.
Ah, okay. Okay. Nice. Another wonderful quote I picked up from my research is, you know, you mentioned the biggest accolades that you have are the stories and experiences that you've gained during your time competing, and that's very poetic coming from someone that actually has loads of physical accolades along his journey. Can you share some of those with you, and perhaps I can tee that up by saying, you know, looking back on your career, you know,
Uh, yeah, like
and
just yeah,
I
go
was going to
on.
say, like having traveled the world, I think this is the kind of the area that I wanted to get to, is the traveling aspect. You know, how much traveling had you done prior to fighting, and what did you did you enjoy the traveling? What did you gain from that? And I'm especially in Asia where you were traveling quite a bit.
Yeah, my I hadn't traveled a lot when I was a kid. My first time abroad was when I was 18, and I went to train in Breda at Core Hemorrhage Gym with Roman Deckers. As the first time I went abroad, and then I think after that, I didn't go abroad until actually I went to Thailand, and obviously then from Thailand just kind of snowballed and kind of went everywhere. And I just think it's like it's a huge eye opener. Obviously, there's more to life than the UK. I think it's
Yeah.
quite good to go and see other cultures. I think it's quite good to be able to experience things that you'll never kind of see here.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
like Asia's a crazy place where something can happen, and you'll be sitting there thinking, God, did that actually just take place? It's just like it's really like bizarre. Like you won't anyone that's been there will understand what I'm saying. And
Mhm.
and just like just some experiences, obviously fighting wise, like my first fight in Hong Kong, which was in 2004 when I was living in Thailand. So obviously, and at that point in time, 10 days before I fought in Hong Kong, I'd fought in Phuket. 10 days before I'd fought in Phuket, I'd fought in Bangkok. So it was just kind of like a hectic schedule. And
Yeah.
obviously then after Hong Kong, I'd fought again quite soon after. And I remember like when we get there, the guy that was promoting the event was Billy Cho, who was like a villain in some Jackie Chan movies. He's like a martial arts
Really?
movie star.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we pulled up to the weigh-in, the weigh-in's at like a restaurant. So it was like very kung fu style film.
Yes.
And
Love
obviously
it.
went upstairs and had like there's like quite a big room if I remember. And there was like massive round tables with white cloths over them, and it was really busy. And obviously there was I think there was about 7 of us in total. There was myself, Irish guy, Scottish guy, Spanish, Japanese,
Sounds like a
somebody
joke.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Walk into
obviously
a bar. Yeah.
and when we all walked up, the whole place went silent. Like they just
Yeah.
stopped, looked
Mhm.
at us, and then some guy come out the door out the back, waved us in, and then everyone just carried on talking. And then we went through for like the weigh-in, and the weigh-in was 2 days before the event as well. So obviously I've got no idea how big these guys are going to be on fight day. But
Yeah.
it's just like it was a really really nice like experience. Both times I've been to fought in Hong Kong have been quite similar, but they've been like amazing.
Yeah. Food great as well.
It was, yeah. We got lost, and where we went, there was like no English or anything, so we were like
Hmm.
wandering around, and obviously we just kind of just pointed at stuff to order. But yeah, the food was great.
Yeah. And how long were you living in Thailand for?
I did 12 months, then I kind of went backwards and forwards like quite frequently. Like in
Yeah.
that 12 months as well, I had 10 fights in a year, so like it
Yeah.
was quite hard going.
And where were you staying?
I was in Bangkok. I was literally 500 meters from the original Lumpini Stadium. So like on
Hmm.
fight night, I could hear the stadium from my balcony.
Yeah. And have you ventured back recently to Thailand?
I went last year. I went twice last year. Prior to that, I hadn't been for 8 years.
Yeah.
But a lot of my travels have kind of taken me to America. So I've been took to America
Yeah.
quite often for obviously like coaching. But this was the first time that I've been able to like go back to Asia. And obviously it's quite good. I was invited over the first part of the year to attend the Muay Thai uh, ceremony thing in Hua Hin. And then the second time I went, I just took my family. So I had like a family holiday, but I got looked after in like a gym there, so everything was sorted out for us.
Did you go back to Lumpini?
No, I haven't been to Bangkok. I haven't been to Bangkok for 8 years, so
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yeah.
considering going this year to go
Hmm.
back. But I've never been to the new stadium yet, so I'm quite keen to see the new stadium.
Yeah. I was there last year. I went with Phil and some of the Team Chew people on a retreat out there, but it's a beautiful stadium. And with the one
Just I'm kind of
championship and
gutted. I'm gutted that
yeah,
the original
yeah,
stadium's not there because obviously that was
yeah.
so
The memories, right?
yeah.
But I'm saying with what one championship is done and the weekly shows that they do there, it's incredible. What's
This
your
is it. Like there's
on no
no
gone?
there's no promotion that's pushed Muay Thai at all the same way that like one championship have. And obviously I've
Mm,
been in the sport a long time. I've seen so many try to do it, and then obviously they've just kind of failed. But obviously because obviously I think one's got such a lot of money, is able
yeah,
to kind of just kind of keep pushing. It's starting to obviously pick up a lot more now.
yeah. And are you following the one championship shows? Are you enjoying that?
I am. I don't watch them every week. It's normally like when I know someone's fighting, especially if anyone from the UK. So if like
Yeah,
John or Liam or anyone's fighting, obviously like I'll chip in or anyone, some of the other play like obviously they had a good fight a couple of weeks ago, which was Eddie Abasolo and Luke
yeah,
Lessard, which I know both of those guys. So
yeah.
I was quite interested in watching that.
So Eddie's on the podcast next week. Shout out to Eddie.
Okay, cool. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, cool guy. So a couple more questions before I let you go, Damien. Um, what is happiness for you?
Happiness for me, I think, is just an easy life, no stress, and everything's kind of running how I want it to run.
Mhm.
I'm quite chilled now. I'm not interested in drama or any kind of stuff where I've got to obviously pull my hair out to sort it out. I'm just quite chilled now. I think I've done all that with the fighting, so I'm happy
Yeah,
just to kind of relax.
right. And Goals this year. You know, you mentioned that, you know, you set a goal that helps you go drive and you go achieve it, and you set another goal. What's the goal that you set yourself?
I think this year, like I said, like the gym's doing really well, but we are in the process of expanding. So we're just kind of looking at that at the moment, and obviously just seeing how that's going to go and how it's going to take us. So I'm looking just kind of obviously build a little bit more upon the gym.
Okay. And finally, a question I ask everyone is, you know, what matters most to you?
I think like we asked earlier, happiness, just to be content.
Okay.
Just when I say content, I don't mean just kind of set off what you've got. You've still got to strive for obviously better things, but as long as you're happy in whatever it is you're doing, you're on sort of like a winning streak.
Beautiful. Well, again, thank you so much for you know, taking the time and giving me an opportunity just to dig into your mind a little bit and ask, you know, the questions that are important to me, and I'm sure that, you know, our listeners will find extreme value from. So thank you.
Okay, no problem.